Go ahead, Ed.
So sorry.
It's okay.
Try again.
Hi, I'm Alex. Been here 35 years. This is my third rodeo with the board. Happy to work with these guys. They're a phenomenal group. I've also been involved with previous boards and they were great too. I think we have everything under control right now. It looks great. And that's it. I still want to say, this is the man right here.
Good morning, everybody. Dan Brumbaugh, been with you all since 2016, 7 years now, living here, full-time resident, raised a family. Been on the board since September 2022, seated as your current treasurer. Very happy to work with everyone here. Looking forward to the future and continuing to try and make improvements for the community. So thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Beverly?
Hi, my name is Beverly Fernandez. I have not been a resident here for as long as these gentlemen have been. I've been here for 5 years full-time. I have 3 children. They're 17, 15, and 6. The smallest one will be 7 soon. Up until now, I have not had a ton of free time to be able to devote fully to being a part of, any kind of board or anything like that. I do plan to stay here and I still have a 7-year-old child. So of course I have more interest now that I have more time to be able to kind of serve my community a little bit. Something that's very important to me. So I think one of the main goals for me, if I should be elected into this position, would be to get to know the community better, get to know what's going on a little bit better. In full transparency, I probably do not have as much knowledge or intimate, experience with everything in the community. But one thing that I do want to do is take what the community has to say and then be a part of helping to filter that to the board and helping to make good decisions for our community.
Great. So what I thought we might do is to have audience members here ask their questions and then folks on Zoom ask their questions. And then we had sort of a couple of prepared questions for you guys too that, like what changes would you like to make or what's one big initiative you'd like to work on, but we can get to those sorts of things later, or maybe you can even address it when you're talking to other folks' questions. So why don't we start?
Okay, me goes first. My name is Mike Gutnick. I've been a homeowner in Emerald Green for approximately 40 years. And I have a single issue that I want to focus on and ask you questions about. The issue is, the question will be, what is your view of this issue and how do you intend to react as a board member on this issue? The issue relates to 3 warehouses or distribution centers being planned and possibly built within 1.5 miles of this building. These distribution centers will substantially increase traffic patterns on Route 17, as well as Rock Hill itself. And they will likely produce more pollution and depreciate the value of our properties. And my question, by the way, the town planning department is all for bungalow development. So they don't care whether or not they're adding single-family homes or warehouse centers. And these facilities will have a significant impact on our daily lives. And my question to you is, if you are re-elected or elected, what is your view on this issue and how will you act on the board with respect to this issue?
So first, sure. I think we've gone over this before as a board member. It's not up to us or our board. This is the way I feel, how they feel, but it's not a board issue. What's going on at Avon? That's their thing. The people that live here, if you want to vote against it or how you feel, that's one thing. But it's not fair for us to say we're against that or we're for that. That's how I feel.
From a personal perspective, if I had the $10 million cash in my back pocket, I would have bought the property years ago, so this wouldn't have happened. But I don't know that any of us are in that position where we could have done something like that. From a board perspective, we're governed by our bylaws and, where our boundaries are. I think, like Alex said, we have discussed this, oversight. but I don't know that there's a lot we can, do or entertain as far as the board goes in relation to Avon. But again, from my personal note, it's sad to see a lot of the changes. I would like to keep Rock Hill. Do I have a stake in it as a homeowner here? Yeah, I mean, I vote. So, that's where I
I
am.
think that's where the key is, if we are against this project, then we have to show up at these meetings and when it's time to vote, not here. I think what you're trying to ask us is that we represent the 800 homeowners that we have here, we just go there. Come on, this is how I feel, okay? And we can't do that. How I personally feel, that's a different thing, but I'm not gonna tell you that here. Okay, and like Dan said, it's not up to the board, it's up to each individual that lives here. And again, do you want to see Rock Hill change totally with this project? But let's not forget, changes are coming. This is just one of them. There's other big projects that come. I don't know if we can stop them all. And with that,
So from a personal perspective, I absolutely agree that increased traffic patterns, pollution, all of that kind of stuff is, a little detrimental and definitely concerning in general. From a perspective of tax paying and helping the economy a little bit, possibly a good thing. But if you have all of the negative things, maybe not so great. So I think more importantly, we're a community, right? And we're all individual members. So the board is here to help the community. The board is here to, listen to the members, try to help, see what they can do. While I agree that you can't give, we 100% say no to this or yes to this, I think that there's ways that we can help facilitate the homeowners that are in the community to speak their voice in certain ways, okay? Now, as far as it coming directly from the board, I think that needs to be a little bit separated. But are there ways that we can help to facilitate our homeowners in, going about trying to vote, as Alex says, or whatever resource you might want to utilize to try to move it forward, to speak against it? I'm totally for helping that.
Other questions, Martha?
I'm sorry, your name again, please?
Beverly.
Beverly, thank you. So, yeah, so a couple of things. I think, I appreciate and understand what you guys are saying. I think what I would like to see and what I would hope is an extended responsibility of the board is to share information. Not to say do this, do that, don't do this, we want it, we don't want it. That is certainly not in the realm of the board. But to communicate with the homeowners, there's one very important issue that's been kicked down the road that will probably resurface, and that is about a sewer extension. If everybody who owns real property in the Rock Hill and Marine Sewer District will have an opportunity to vote. We don't know when, we don't yet know if there will be absentee ballots, but this is the time that if everybody voices their opinion, whatever their opinion is, if the applicant does not get that sewer extension, the likelihood of their developing this not only massive distribution center, but on the initial plan were 1,396 high-density housing units, which have not been addressed, but have not been removed. So we have an opportunity to speak up. The Center for Discovery is a done deal. It's opening relatively soon. There will be initially, according to one of their executive vice presidents that I know personally, starting with 400 employees, plus a lot of deliveries, a lot of, waste removal, all of that stuff. So there's going to be already a huge traffic impact. I think if these other things go through, we will have devastating impacts on traffic, on water and air quality, on our quality of life overall, on our property abuse for sure. So what I'm asking of the board is to share communication, facts, data, information to allow the community to be informed. Nothing more, not say, do this, do that, we don't like this, it wouldn't be that, just please inform people, because I speak to a huge number of people. And so many people say, nobody told me, why don't they tell me? So I would really like to see that, just the board allow that information to go through the community so that people know what's going on.
By the way, the sewage issue is a pocketbook issue for each of us, I'll tell you why. That sewer plant was originally designed for residential and light office and retail. It was not designed for an industrial facility. If the Avon Park people get a chance to pump their sewage through our facility, and they decide, by the way, which if they get the zoning they're asking for, to have an industrial plant there or heavy duty industrial, they can make that plant obsolete. We're required, all the sewer participants, all the homeowners will be required to pay additional assessments to reestablish that sewer plant and make it more productive. So this is a pocket issue for each of them.
That's very true. What they're doing is basically putting in a placeholder just to give them permission to flow into our sewer system. So when you're told that the applicant is paying for it, they're paying for, somebody described it to me as a straw, and I like that. So a straw. If it needs to be a Lincoln tunnel, it is on all of us to pay for it, because everyone in the sewer district will share. According to an engineer that we spoke with, who's very knowledgeable, we don't currently have an industrial waste. So that would again fall on every person in the district to pay what will likely be massive increases in our bills. All they want is to get that in place. As
Gotcha. Thank you, Mark.
So-
Chris has a question.
Do any of the candidates want to respond on there? I didn't hear.
As far as the sewer district and planning board goes, I might recommend some of the people within these alliances to maybe look into running for the planning board or the town board.
We have, they refuse to put us in place. They get appointed by us. Here's the problem. The entire planning board is appointed by the supervisor of town of Thompson. The supervisor of the town of Thompson.
I got you.
There's real estate background.
Go ahead, Chris.
Delving way into the political.
Just to refocus attention on getting to know the candidates. I would love to hear from each of you on either one initiative or project ongoing in the community that sort of that you either support or that you'd like to change direction on. And so for incumbents, maybe like projects that you have been active on as a board member and that you'd like to and sort of talk about sort of what your contribution has been, and for Beverly, maybe some area of community activity where you could see yourself pitching in as a board member.
Okay. Well, I mean, do you want to go the same route? Or?
Why don't we go Beverly first and then
Okay.
So I have been listening to the past couple of board meetings, and I did notice that there's definitely some interest in getting the compost area cleaned up. Like, it's significantly been an issue for quite some time. So I think that it's important to get that area cleaned up, and definitely would like to see that area cleaned up for sure. I'm not really, again, have not been super involved in everything, so I don't want to pretend. I want to have full transparency, and I think that that's very important. I think my purpose in coming here is to have a fresh set of eyes and to listen to the community. I have children here and I want things to be nice. I want my children to grow up and maybe raise a family, or at least come back here. So the area being clean, having good facilities to utilize, the maintenance of the facilities, I think that's something that I'm strongly passionate about. What we have in place currently, maintaining it over time. It's great to talk about a bunch of new initiatives and what you'd like to do, but if you don't take what's already here, we're going to be spinning our circle over and over and over again. So I would like to, and it would be important to me as a board member, for what we have existing to make sure that it's maintained appropriately.
Yeah.
Good points, Beverly. Overall, since I've been here, kind of worked on several. Some of you may be aware, some of you may not be aware. With the Entertainium, a lot of the board members were heavily involved in trying to get this building open for you all to use. Overall, I mean, I feel like we've done a pretty good job. Could it be better? Yes. There's some opportunities that I would like to see for us, to grow. looking to down the line, adding more equipment into the weight room. I liked Hal's idea of setting up some gaming tables in the west wing. I also like the idea of the survey that went out to gauge homeowners' feedback on what projects they'd like to see. It's not necessarily important what I want to do, but collectively, what's the most interesting thing for homeowners. I do know that there's interest in remodeling and rehabbing the park by the pool, possibly the park over here. With the influx of new homeowners comes kids. And we want to make sure that the kids have a good, safe playground to play on overall. So will the playground be in our future? It's something that I'd be interested in entertaining. Also, just some pieces I've worked with the board on, so most of them know. I'm really an advocate for getting people outside and doing things. I like the idea of looking into possibly leasing some space at the pool house to bring in some vendors for renting bikes, pedal boats, activities for homeowners. Maybe they don't have a bike, maybe they want to get out on the lake and do some pedal boating, and it's a win-win for the association and whoever the vendor might be. Just a lot of things that we'd like to go on, but a lot of that's been hindered by just trying to get this project done. So didn't get as far as I wanted to go in the first year, but we'll see where it goes in the ongoing. Sorry for long-winded.
And you stole all your ideas, right?
Listen, no, it's I think we're doing a terrific job here. Another thing you have to keep in mind, when we want, but let's not forget that it costs money to want. So we have to do this. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're not moving fast enough. There's a lot of things. I mean, for one, I would like to see that back there secured. I mean, you don't a little better, and that'll be a big plus for the homeowners here. Especially if you own a boat or a trailer, and instead of paying somebody $500-600 for the year, you live here. But it's got to be secure. It's got to be clean. So that's one of the things. There's a lot of things we could be doing, but again, please keep in mind that maybe just write in your thoughts, or come to a meeting. Let us know whether I get elected or not. Let these guys know. He mentioned all these things. Another thing that we talked about was the ice rink. But again, we need money for that. And bathrooms outside, so people don't have to walk in here. That's it.
Thank you. I want to go to Zoom and see if there's anybody on Zoom who might
Really hand up
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Yeah, please.
I'm just going to sort of jump in here because I have a problem with keeping still with a lot of these meetings and sorts of go off in different directions. Daniel just made a point about something being situation. I don't know if anything in life is that simple as pure win-win, and I'll take the thing you talked about. You said you could have maybe a bike rental situation, a boat rental situation, vendors in here, and I'll even take it a step further. We put in millions of dollars to rebuild this clubhouse. How should this clubhouse be used as a community thing? Should it be open just to the people in Emerald Green? Should it be have rented out rooms for parties for people in the community, or even extending that to people outside of the community? Now you're saying everything is win-win. We've been over this for 30 some odd years that I lived here. I moved in here in the 80s. So I've seen both sides to all of these stories. The community is growing very, very rapidly. And I would wonder, asking you where it's a win-win situation in particular, because you're the one who brought it up. Is there any downside to any of this at all that you would see?
Well,
Because this is not like, and I understand the sewer system and all these other things, which we're a small factor in. I think things should be done with the sewer system, with the warehousing, all of that. I'm very much for the ideas that the people have sitting here. But we're really a community. And the main thing that you people could do work on things that affect all of us in this community.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it's very easy to get into something, very, very difficult to get out of it. I'm not gonna pass judgment on anything we're doing right now, but sometimes things are simplistic. We've had problems with the lake over the years where if you open it up enough, people bring in boats from the outside. They're contaminated. The
Yeah.
lake is changing. There's growth in certain parts of the lake that we never had before. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but 20 years from now, you don't know what's gonna happen with that. You might have so much seaweed and weeds and everything else in there that the lake is not usable anymore. That's what happens with these things. So it's easy to say, let's do this or let's try it, but you really have to take specific things. So one of them that I just brought off and started with was the rental. If you rent out things within the community, that changes the whole purpose of Emerald Green. It's not really a private select community anymore. It's all of a sudden shared by people on the outside for very limited funds. Do you know how they're gonna take care of it? Do you know how they're gonna police it? What about the people that come up for a weekend or for summer or whatever? And they say, oh, you can't use that room today because we rented it out for $50. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying you have to understand what's the purpose and which direction do you want this community to go. We bought land, there's the golf course. And the reason we bought that land initially was to make a buffer. There's been a lot of talk over the last year or so. And again, I'm not saying it's good or bad, and I don't live on that property. But I'm saying that all of a sudden people come up with ideas, maybe we should make walking paths, maybe we should do other things. Well, there are a lot of people that live on that, and I'm not particularly friends with people who live there, but I look at it as a person with experience. What happens to the guy that likes getting up Sunday morning and sitting out back with a cup of coffee in his pajamas, and all of a sudden you've got 300 people coming back and forth on what was supposed to be a buffer zone?
Yeah.
And they're joking and talking and hanging around right off of his deck, and they have the rights now. So it's very easy to get into things, very, very difficult to change them and roll it back.
Can
And
I
I'm
just,
gonna just leave it, each one of you should pick out one thing that's been going on in the last year, whether it's the renting the property, whether it's changing that, some other thing that you have, maybe extra vendors, it starts off with a hot dog seller, and I'm not passing judgment on any of this. So how about the next person saying, I want to sell something else? And the next thing you know, you have a whole different look around the pool. We spent $1 million or $2 million. What do we want it to be look like? What do we want it to be used as? What do we want if it starts raining in a hurry and everybody leaves the garbage there and runs away? What's gonna happen with all of this? How do we control kids in Monticello from not coming on a rainy day and taking over the basketball court? This is the reality of what you guys could do something about. And those are the things that I'm concerned about, that you all should have some ability at this point to talk and say, this is a pet project of mine and I want to watch out for it. And that's really it.
so allow me a minute to respond, please.
Sure.
So, with every decision we make, you have to weigh, your opportunities with your wins, right? So when I say win-win, I'm speaking again in relation to our members. Our members are our members. I thought I paraphrased that specifically when I went into detail on saying that I like the idea of people getting outside. Our members should be given that opportunity. I'm not saying that we're gonna open the floodgates and allow people to come in and rent bikes. No, but if Brad, doesn't have a bike and he wants to go down to the pool house and rent a bike, why can't Brad go outside and ride a bike around the community? These are the things that I feel like we can empower our homeowners to get outside, do different activities and stuff like that. There's by no means are we saying, okay, should we allow, the entire high school to come in here, ride the bikes and pay whatever the fee is? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, we have a community, we have a membership, let's cater to our base. And this is our base, you guys. So if you guys decide, hey, this is what we would like to do, we talked about it in surveys, let's go ahead and do it. Plus, every decision we make is decided on by the board. I could propose an idea on bringing a bike vendor in and, let's just say they rent the bikes for $20 an hour and then $5 goes to the association for leasing fees on that building. That's the win-win I'm talking about. The revenue goes back to the association. But the remainder of the board has to vote on that as well, not just me. So if all of us decide, that's a collective. But if only one of us, me, is the one proposing the idea and we deny it, then we have to move on. And that's part of the way things work around here. So it's not, just bulldozing in and saying, win-win and this is what it is. No, this is, we all have to be in agreement, so.
Okay,
I agree with this gentleman. I think everything he said is right on target. That vendor there with the hot dogs is very tacky. We used to have a building there and they did sell some things. That's one thing, but that's very tacky. And it doesn't bring any class to Emerald Green, and Emerald Green was always, it was. So,
I didn't say, I just said, I don't know what's
Please.
going
Yeah.
like, people are watching that TV, and they're all gonna say, you said something.
No.
You said.
it was tacky.
So I think what you guys are talking about is kind of, you have all of the years of experience, right? You've been in the community for years and years, so you've watched it go both ways. So you're talking about risk stratification, basically, and looking at things from a perspective of, we've been there and we've had that experience before, and we kind of know the path and the road that it leads down, versus we have all of these new ideas, but maybe these new ideas were old ideas at once too. So I think it's important when we're talking about civic duty, board positions, it's going to need to be the input of the community. It's important to get that feedback. It's important to learn from history and what's happened so that we don't repeat the same mistakes again, or have some more foresight into what's going on versus, not having that foresight and knowledge. The beautiful part about having a community and all different people and all different personalities and all different levels of experience is if we truly take the time to listen to one another, we can probably really make some big changes and make the community really nice. And I'm not saying that you guys have not done that. I mean, we've certainly seen, I've seen just in the 5 years that I've been here, some good changes and some maybe not so great changes, some things that I've liked and some things that I really didn't like. But the point is that we all need to be open to listening to each other. And I think that that's the main concern. And also, if you're talking about risk stratification, you should be laying that stuff out. And hopefully, I think that, a lot of that has been being done, but maybe to your point, we could continue to improve upon that.
I want to get to everybody's questions, and I want to see if anybody on Zoom has any questions. All right, seeing none, Marcy?
Yeah, so I just want to thank everybody up here for what they're saying and all their cares and concerns, and I think, it's wonderful to hear that. I think that, along with some of the things Mitch brought up, that security is a great concern that we should pay a lot of attention to. I have personally spoken to quite a few people, both inside the entertainment and, on the tennis courts, pickleball courts, who absolutely don't live here. And I think, that's something that the board should consider. But larger than that, what I'm hearing is that everybody's talking about informing the community, which is wonderful, and letting the community have its say and have its voice, which is as it should be. And I think that going back to what I said before, at the risk of, drilling a little bit, it's like saying, how do we arrange the chairs on the Titanic as it starts to go under? All the larger factors will impact everything here. So as important as it is in our lovely, beautiful, happy bubble, we can't put on blinders and not see what's going on around, because it will have potentially a devastating impact on us if we're not aware of it, and if we don't have the opportunity to take action when action can be taken. So I think that's the thing.
Emerald Green represents more than half the population of Providence. So if Emerald Green doesn't take that position on something, the reality is the rest of the positions are minorities.
We used to run a newspaper years back, but you need volunteers for that. We used to charge for ads. So maybe to have somebody to write, person like yourself, if you're involved with what's going on, you want to, pros, cons, or you're for or you're not, or at least let us know. We'd like to let the people here know what's going on with the
Oh,
town.
that would be
Well, you
wonderful.
can't ask me to go to the meetings and, you know,
That would be wonderful, and I mean, if you would accept, I mean, now everything is electronic and it's so much easier and simpler. It may be a newsletter, I'm no longer part of the LCA for various reasons, that I'm sure everybody knows. But Mike is, and if the LCA gave updates to the board and the board would share them via email. You know, if you want more of a newsletter, I would.
well, this is something that we would probably have to discuss and see how,
I mean,
what are the legal ramifications and all of that.
Well, I mean,
So,
to explore options, right? Is there a way to disseminate information, not bias, just that data information so that everybody's aware? Because they don't have, all of the emails and don't have the ability to share with everyone in the community. And I think that everybody has a right to and should know, and I'm hoping the board will consider finding a way to, you know, share the information.
I mean, one thing that we could possibly look into doing is like a community advocacy committee.
Mhm.
Where, you know, let's just say Beverly is the chairman on the board of that committee, right? And, she runs this committee and you all, you know, do your meetings just like any other committee and you report back to the board.
Yeah,
So that might be something that we could look into going forward.
that's
all
all.
in favor?
Yeah. Love it, thank you for that suggestion.
We'd also like to ask Beverly to join
I
me.
miss the fact you don't have shows. I used to really like it, and I know a lot of people feel loved it. And I really think that's lacking here, instead of looking for certain other things, I think shows would be a real benefit.
I would personally love the idea,
That's fun, right?
Huh?
Didn't the cabaret thing happen?
Yeah.
That was outside, which was very nice. But they used to have actually entertainers,
Yes.
and you go to a place like Camelot, they used to have, I don't know about now because of the pandemic and everything, they used to have every week a show, a really good show. And sometimes I tell people about it, they say, oh, you know, we saw that active barber at that place there. And the Howard Rap Agency usually books it for, and Emerald Green used to book them also.
So
A few years ago, we had it at the firehouse because we didn't have any place here, and it was really very nice. But I think something like that would be really an asset.
that agency Michael's in contact with. I know, I'm pretty sure the rap agency Michael's in contact with. I know Chris
Oh, yeah, he is.
and a lot,
They,
I know,
it was their band,
yeah.
you know, through.
The events committee and all that, they're getting together. I know that they're putting calendar stuff together. You know, my thought would be like, years did like a Christmas dinner. Maybe, you know, you do like movie nights. Maybe you bring in somebody that does a show. I'm all for, but again, a lot of that stuff goes through the committees. And, you know, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. Now with the entertainment open and other things taken, you know, off of the plates of the board members, maybe we can all start to get back into our committee groups and really start to reestablish some of these.
Yeah, 1 second, one second. I would be totally against to use the entertainment for any kind of show because of our floor. And when you have that many people set up chairs, that would be a recipe for disaster.
The main.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so what I think, the clubhouse, then we could do something there, fine. But as far as, I know what Rita's saying, back in the day, they used to have, Rita, that's a thing of the past.
But they said
Okay.
the chairs there, and we
Uh,
played.
we're not here.
All in there.
Not here, here at the clubhouse, we could do that.
They picked.
Cabaret night, maybe, I'm gonna stretch it, okay? Maybe, but 100 people.
They walking the doors there, after the buildings went down.
You know what, I couldn't,
I think,
but I've had 100 people there.
Yeah, the problem is.
I'm like-
yeah,
Well, you know, and we're gonna get that kind of numbers in there. But, you know, if that's the case, and then we're gonna have to roll out a carpet and use the entertainment.
so Chris has a hand up because I know that they've been working on things.
So I actually don't want to make this about me or events development. I think what, just to generalize, what we're discussing here is a question of priorities. Alex, you brought up the issue of member dues and what things cost. And so what we're talking about here are things that cost money. And as soon as the board is elected, we're going to go into budgeting for the next year. So maybe to step back from specific events, I'd love to hear you all talk about where your priorities are on that. Is your priority to perhaps to potentially raise dues in order to fund some of these priorities, or is your main goal to hold dues in check or to try to lower dues?
I could start with that. I would love to, keep dues flat or reduce if possible. But if we continue to add, to Chris's point, obviously the dues will have to go up. There's been different cost factors that this association has taken on over the last couple of years that have really, had an impact. I could just talk about the insurance for one thing. We've had to bite the bullet on insurance going up 40%. That's a significant impact to the bottom line of our association. So where does that money come from? Is it going to come out of the community activities, or if we're going to grow the community activities? But that's some of the feedback that the board has to do collectively. If my person, and to answer your question, I like doing events catered to holidays and some of our membership. Are we going to do something on the 4th of July? We do it every year, but what about some of the other holidays throughout the year that we could work on? Is the funding going to come out of the community activities? Yes. So that's something that we have to plan out when we do our budget. If we're going to stay at the same dollar amount for next year, or are we going to grow that, and then where's that money going to come from? So all of that is going into the planning phase on where our finances go. If we decide that last minute we want to throw a holiday party, we're going to obviously have to plan. Maybe we need to cut somewhere along the line something else in the budget in the next month to compensate for that. So I'm all ears to whatever. I'm not specific on any specific holiday or events. Anything to get people together would be great. I did like the kids carnival that we did a couple of years back. That was great. I thought it brought a lot of activity down to the pool, but we do a lot of stuff around the pool. Maybe we should do some other things this way. I know that what Alex is saying is we got to weigh the good with the bad. But winter activities and stuff like that seems to be something we got more year-round residents now, so something that we have to focus on. Sorry.
We have more residents now, and we should have more money, because we're not fighting, at least I don't think we're still fighting the lawsuit for Reinstein. And so where's all that money going to? When I first came here, you actually used to hire someone as an activities director in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
They used to give us the tennis balls to play, and we used to play every week, tennis, and have the tournaments. They are doing a tennis tournament. But so where is this money going? We had the chicken barbecue, we had a barbecue in the summer, another one we had hot dogs and other things, where's the money?
Times have changed. I mean, every month we publish.
Well, yeah.
Every month we publish our financial statements, and those are out there for all to see. Just give you a prime example, $15,000 went to run the pool for a month. I mean, when you're looking at, expenses like that, was it $15,000 30 years ago? No. Did it cost us $35,000 for a $3 million loan 30 years ago? No. These are all per month payments that we still have to make sure that the association takes on. And I'm just speaking as the treasurer, not as,
So Alex and Beverly, could you?
Yeah,
I just want to go back to Chris.
yeah. So I think, it's obviously really important to be looking at the budget and the numbers. I think I know that they're published and posted, but at the last 2 board meetings, there were questions that people had. So I'm not sure if it's just that the people just have questions, that they don't know how to find the information, or they didn't see it, or it wasn't available. So I think number one, making sure that everything is transparent, as we're talking about, is really important, because I think when people don't have all the information, we can tend to let our minds go to places and kind of come to conclusions without all of the data and the information. So that's one. Number two, I don't think it's gonna be possible really to reduce costs in the current climate economically that we're in. If you're being realistic, I mean, prices are not going down, prices are going up. Do we need to be better at our fiscal responsibility for our community? Maybe there are ways that we can improve upon that. When you're talking about community events and different things, as a mother and somebody who is now interested in some civic duty, I'd like to maybe think to have our kids get a little bit more involved, teach them a little bit of something. Maybe we can prompt them to do a little bit of fundraising or something to help raise money for events or different things that we want to do. Is it going to be, astronomical or a lot? No, maybe not, but we're talking about bringing the community together. We're talking about working together as a team. So I think those things are really important. And I think that where we're going to spend money and how we're going to do it needs to really come from the community as well. And when you're talking about risk and looking at risk versus benefit, we need to kind of do a little bit of forecasting too. So a lot of problems come when you don't look ahead to see what things might be problems. So are we going to have interest rates that increase over time? Are we thinking that the economy is going to go? You have to look at those kind of things. Those things are important. So I would say it would be really nice to lower the dues. I don't love them myself either, but in the world that we live in, I think the best that we can do is to be very fiscally responsible and not make poor choices going forward.
Alex, any thoughts?
Yeah. To your question, Rita, I remember years ago, our budget for entertainment was upwards of $20,000, $30,000. Can't do that and do the other things, because back then, that's all we did here. There was nothing else. I've been here 35 years. My kids weren't even allowed to work at the pool when we had lifeguards. We had people from the outside come in and those guys. World's changed. I don't have a problem going maybe having one event a year, just like we do with the fireworks.
Well, I don't have to have
You know.
every week a show.
No, that's what I'm saying. But those things cost money. I think right now we are doing a darn good job with our budget, the way things are, and we still run. Okay, and then we have to take into consideration the people that fall behind their payments. You got money to.
And nothing wrong with giving it to kids' activities.
Yeah, but please don't compare Pamela to this. No, that's the only thing you got going there. That they, it's a.
There were many
Summer community.
out, even without the evening shows. What about the Western day they would have? And then.
Well, that's what Dan brought up. That was the for children. Yeah, the animals.
You don't do that, all those things, but different events through the summer, they only did it in the summer.
Yeah.
It wasn't through the winter either.
So that's what, it's a time to do things in the winter. Because things change. You can have something planned for this Saturday, and next thing you know, you got 2 feet of snow.
So maybe just to put this in a more pointed question, just to think about, hear you think about your priorities. So the events budget this year is $40,000. If we raise it, every $5,000 is about $10, a little less than $10 increase in dues per homeowner, right? And the last cabaret, the performer fee was $20,000. So without any other cuts to the operating budget, just the hypothetical question, since we're talking about events, would you support raising the event budget by $5,000 and member dues by $10 to increase?
You asking me that? Oh, I'm with you.
As a board member, I would support that. But again, that's got to be something that we're proposing to the board. We're, transparently discussing during our budget. And if the board votes on it, the board voted on it. So it's a collective.
But also, Chris, you need the input from the people in the community. You and I, when we see, when we have our meetings and, this gentleman's here, Rich is here, you know, 2, 3 guys, that's it. You know, and a few on Zoom.
No, when we pulled up today, we said, where are all the cars?
There's no meeting.
Because it used to be a lot of people showed up to hear the candidates.
Yeah.
Where are they?
For the computer.
Where are they? Yeah.
I'm gonna sum up something real fast for you, because I know that the meeting is really forced to introduce the candidates. You're fortunate to have me today, because I was the grandfather in all of these things 30 years ago. I ran the shows on Saturday nights for a couple of years. I hired the entertainment, I knew the budget, and you're all guessing at things. The reality is, I'll just give you this one thought. If everyone wants to talk to me privately, I'll be happy to take a little time some other time. The community changed. That's why the shows were cut out. When I moved in here in the 80s, I'm going back a long time ago, it was basically a vacation weekend community. Everybody was in their mid-50s and up, and it was a different bunch of needs. There were no children, there were no buses in the neighborhood, and everybody would show up for these shows. We would get 400 or 500 people on a Saturday night, and that was a big event for the week. And we hired entertainment that particular group liked. Some of them were a little bit older, you wouldn't even know their names, but they were very famous singers and comedians, and we had a band, and people had a real good time, and everybody in that place knew each other. Different community. As the community changed and people moved in, and you had families and the children needed a babysitter, and they wanted this and they wanted that. It got into disputes. We want to spend as much money, so when you're talking 20,000 or 30,000 a week for the shows, all of a sudden the people with children say, we want to have a budget of 20,000 a week for the children, for parties and things. So I won't go into it any deeper now, but a lot of times, this is what I meant a half hour ago. You get into things without understanding the ramifications. You have to live through this to see what happens with the people, where things go in direction, what happens among friends, to understand the changes over a period of years. And it isn't always the fiscal responsibility. Part of the thing in a community like this is you moved in for a lifestyle. And sometimes you just have to say, like somebody said, $10 a week would be the extra amount. Is it worth the $10 to have a whole lifestyle? How about we cut out the swimming pool next year? We could really save money. We'll cement it over, and we'll make one bocce court, you could just play bocce there. And we'll get a big crowd, right? Because thousands of people are going to show up to play the bocce. So you have to be realistic in these things, and those are the real balances. Why do we have a welcoming committee now? Does anybody say to the people moving in, why did you move into Emerald Green?
I think we could see the current climate of the community and its members participating or are not here.
Have somebody welcome consideration.
Ambassador.
I did all of that years ago. I was the welcoming committee for a couple of years. I went around and knocked on the doors. I gave them some flowers and candy. We spoke for an hour. People wanted me to drink with them at 10 o'clock in the morning. That was a no-no. I went through all of these things and I understood it. And that's because I'm an outgoing guy like that, and I like that kind of thing. So I'll be happy to give any advice or opinion after, but I don't think that's really what this meeting is about.
Well, with that, Marcy.
So I just want to preface by saying that my husband's family built in 1988, so we're a long time here and hopefully be a long time going forward. I was director of the club of Chapin State, and that was quite a challenge because you have even more diversity there and what people's interests are. Just going to float a thought at you guys, and we don't have to discuss it now, but because I know you're doing a great job with the budget and it's tight and we have a lot of fixed expenses, a survey maybe to see if people would be willing to pay a small amount to attend an event, right? So if you have an entertainer, would you pay $5 a person to come in and see? Just a thought for that. And the other thing that I want to just bring back around, because a few people mentioned it, is our lake, which is the gem of our community. It's the basis of our property values. It's also our drinking water. And last year we had a toxic algae bloom that was deadly poison. We really need to put a lot of concern. Rich Brown is lovely and he's doing a wonderful job, but he's one guy. And we need to really put, as a board, you guys, a lot of focus on the quality of our water, maintaining it, caring for it. Some of the property owners that I know personally and watch pour massive amounts of chemicals into their lawns and their plants. as soon as it rains, goes right into the lake. These are really serious concerns that as a board, I hope that you will take on and consider. Thank you.
It's not the first time this has come up. You know, it's up to the people that live, well, not just people along the lake, people live across from the lake,
That's right,
everything close to the lake.
right?
So, yeah, I just thought we might wrap up unless there's anyone on Zoom. Now is your last chance to raise your hand, right? And there's very few of you, so you can just unmute and ask a question. Otherwise, we'll wrap up with thanks to those who came out to join us. And want to give the candidates one last opportunity, particularly for the recording. So we will put this on our YouTube channel so that everyone who couldn't be here today can see it. But if you wanted to wrap up and offer any closing plea, feel free. Dan, we'll start with you this time, and then go Beverly and then Alex.
Yeah, 53.
I appreciate the opportunities the community has given me. I wholeheartedly love living here. That's not just a statement, that's my heart. I love being here. I love everything about it. I just want to see the community grow and bloom and do what it does right. I would love to, you know, put in the efforts into experiencing and getting all these other projects done. I have a lot of thoughts. Sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, just getting some of those executed. So if given an opportunity to do that again, I will definitely hear your voice, make sure that we move forward on the values and champions that you guys want us to move forward with, and you know, obviously execute what the community wants us to do. So you have my promise to that if given another opportunity to represent you. So thank you.
It was nice to meet everyone here today. Thank you for coming. I think it's, you know, as you're talking about, we don't see where are all the cars, and there are not a ton of people online. So hopefully, you know, we are going forward, going to be bridging the community and getting more people involved. I think it's really important to hear what's going on and kind of hear about past experiences. I don't have as much experience. I want to again say that, but it's not about.
That's why it's so important.
It's not about all of that experience. I do want to be helpful, and I do want to be a part of the community and have the time to do so now. Before I did not have the time. Now I have a bunch of open time. So I look forward, if you'd allow me to be a part of this board and to help kind of communicate and learn about what's going on and try to help be a part of the community.
I know it's a thankless job when you're on a committee, on a board, you know, and lots of times people say, oh, I'm not gonna do it, this and that. And I have to say, Alex has been wonderful. He really is. He'd give you his shirt off his back. He really, all the time, whenever you need. He really does. No matter what you ask, Alex is there. His wife the other day said, if you ever have a problem, call us. Doesn't matter what time of day. And they need it, you know. And I know it is a thankless job. But, you know, there's certain things that and I know what I would like to have, and I'm sure you as a parent have certain other priorities, you know. Now, I know people who come from the community, outside the community, and come here to rent rock, you know. Now, another thing, I grew up in the country, all right? We walk toward the traffic. We fight with the traffic. We always say, oh my God, these people, why are they walking over here? And it used to be was a law. But there's no law about that. But maybe people, there should be something just encouraging people walk toward the traffic, ride your bike with the traffic. Maybe they'll listen. And then they walk free across and you come to us. God forbid you should hit them, you know. But there are people that actually come here, bring their bikes, and they bike around because they told them.
And used to be.
And years ago, I remember when the courts were not locked, people used to come and play tennis here. Just like you said, they could come to do basketball and other things. And they did. They do. Yeah.
Alex, you wanna
No, I'm
wrap us up?
tapped out. What I just, listen, I would like another opportunity to be, stay on the board. I would like to see this place go forward. Again, I would tell you people, the people who live here, you want some change, you have to show up. You have to let us know. And also, give us the opportunity to say, hey, go and do this, or we cannot do it. If we cannot do something, doesn't mean they stand outside and throw a shoe at us. You know, if we can't afford it, we can't afford it. Maybe we'll do it next year. But it's important to come in and state your.
Where were the other candidates? Did anybody?
That's it, no, this is it, and only because we extended it.
So can I just make a closing comment regarding that? First, I want to say thank you to Beverly for stepping up, Alex for stepping up for all these years, and all the board members. Patrick's here, Chris is here. This is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see. And it's a lot of, like she was explaining, thankless time. And it, to be honest, it puts a lot of fear in people that maybe they don't want to step up. But, you know, Beverly stepping up, Alex has stepped up over the years, Patrick stepping up. We need people to step up, and I just appreciate everybody who has. And, you know, previous generations and generations and generations. So I know that it's a lot of work, but to me, I think we owe it to the community to dedicate that time and to put that in there. So if our values match yours, then at least give us the ability to make those decisions that you want us to make. So
Patrick, I have one question. There were three people here, and I think they're excellent candidates.
Yes.
Two of them I know from being on the board previously. I think you guys have done a great job. I probably pop into more meetings than most of the people in the community. So I want to thank you both for your service. Beverly, I think you really did a great job coming here, facing the audience, whoever was here. I like your answers, your poise, and I think you would make a great candidate. I'm just curious, the other two or three that had resumes, do they drop out now or?
No, so Brad's question as well. So there were two other candidates, Philippa Bishop. Philippa indicated she would be here. So I'm not sure what happened there. And Leslie Askew Halprin, who indicated she would not be available to be here. So, because she was the only one who couldn't be here, we did offer, she wanted to put in a written statement, we read it out for her. She didn't do that, that's fine, that's completely her choice, so, they're both still candidates, but that's.
I'm just gonna make a statement, which again, I should keep quiet, but to me, this is a very important thing. And if you don't show up for the meeting of introduction, I don't want to read something on a piece of paper. I want to look at the person, I want to see how they're reacting, what their facial expression is, how they're reacting to the whole, and how much they're really concerned. And to me, these three people should definitely be voted for. The others, I just cannot, but if they didn't show up for the introduction, how effective are they going to be when you have meetings and committee meetings all year round? That's the reality, and I understand the problem that people, I mean, I did this years ago, I'm just past the time to do it again. But I understand all of these sides to it, and I'll leave it at that.
But I mean, I want to acknowledge for those two candidates, well, who aren't here, that, you know, we did schedule this just this week. So
They used to mail that out.
for these guys, that's great, casting an aspersion one way or another, but just as a fact.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right.
Yeah.
Everyone, thanks very much. We'll end the recording and.
Everybody has a chance.